Hi, everybody. This is Charlie Guarino. Welcome to yet another edition of Tech Talk SMB. As you can see from the screen here today, I have not only one, but two wonderful guests here today. And they have both agreed to be open with their communities. I'm sitting here very happily with Floyd Del Muro, who is the president of Common North America, and also Juan Manuel Alcudia, president of Common Europe. Guys, I'm so thrilled that you're here. Thank you so much for joining me here today. This is such a great treat to have you both here today.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Charlie. Glad to be here.
thank you.
Thank you. I've been working with you guys for several years now, and I'm proud to say I'm also a member of the Common North America team. Not the team, but as a volunteer and a speaker. And I've been speaking there for over 20 years, and we'll talk about that too. But I wanted to get you both together and get some of your insights about the common organizations, the world, how it's affecting the worldwide community, and things like that. So let's get started. Let's just jump in right there. Um, but before we even jump into the worldwide initiatives, I want to talk to each of you individually. Floyd Del Muro, who's recently retired, 40-year career, holy cow, in the IBMI community. I think it's absolutely amazing. And now you're
Thank you, Charlie.
retired, and retired, but not gone. You're keeping your hand in the community, and still serving and volunteering, and I think it's a wonderful thing.
Yes, that's exactly right. So it's kind of my swan song. I joined the board 5 years ago. As you know, it's 2 3-year terms, but the newly elected president, which buys me another couple years. So now they've got 3 more years of me, roughly.
Wow, that's really great. And of course, the other guest we have is Juan Manuel Alcudia, and Juan, certainly the president of Common Europe. And I know you work with CD Invest, based in Madrid, Spain. I know
Yeah,
you're the manager of the
yeah,
Spanish branch, as it were. And you've been president now for several years as well.
yeah. Well, this will be my third term as well, second term, but third year as president, and they will have me for 2 more years until 2026. So, well, I hope that people like what I'm doing. I'm trying to make common Europe more open, more fresh, and I think we are doing it. But you never know what the people thinks. I think they are happy.
I can tell you, I've been, as I mentioned, I've been speaking at Common for many of over 2 decades, and I've had also the very good fortune to speak for many years already in Common Europe. And each event, while they're different, do have some similarities. And let's start with that. So I think the first thing I want to talk about is just for just for those who still, if you can imagine, may not be as familiar with what Common does or its mission. Can you tell me a little bit about that? And we can. I think that's the same in many respects. So what is the Common mission, and how it affects, or how it should be affects, or how the community can draw upon that mission?
Hmm.
Floyd, you
I'll
want to
let
go
my.
first?
Oh,
Okay.
sure. I'll be glad to go first. So, really, 3 pillars of what we do at Common. Number one is education. That is our main focus, is to provide the greatest education around IBMI power. Second is networking. Provide avenues where our membership, our community, our ecosystem, that would include partners and speakers, as well as our members, even students, have chances to interact with each other and gain knowledge and understanding of each other and their needs and wants. And last would be advocacy, things like the CAC, as we provide insight for IBM and some other organizations, and truly promote the ecosystem on a business level as well as a global scale.
For those who may not be familiar with CAC, I know it's CAAC. What actually does that mean? I know it's an acronym.
Yeah, it's an advisory board that is built up of Common members that provides IBM with insight about the community. So it's almost like a client panel. You have to have a certain amount of years. There's certain eligibility requirements to be on the CAC. And Juan can address, they have a similar entity there in Common Europe as well.
Yeah, we have SIAC, that is the same, but for Common Europe.
Common Europe, Common America, CACE.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's Common
And you-
Europe Advisory Council. Yeah,
right. And SEAC, like the CAC, they work directly with IBM, and that's how my understanding is that that's how they get good information about what the community needs to put into the operating system, for example, things like that. Direction.
Do you know that there is this thing called ideas at IBM, where people can send their ideas to improve the operating systems or power or any product of IBM. In these councils, they discuss mainly these ideas with IBM to see what will be important for the community or what will be not. And I think that is good because this can give a direct feedback from the customers to IBM, so they know which way to go. Of course, Common North America and Common Europe are not the only councils, but I think we are so important on this level.
I know that there are some basic similarities between the two organizations as far as the three pillars network and things like that, but yet there are some differences. So, for example, I know in the case of Common Europe, for example, you can attend the Common Europe event, but you mentioned earlier, Juan, that it's more like a consortium. Maybe it's an organization that
we are the umbrella for all the local organizations, because in Common North America they have one advantage, that more or less the culture is the same, even the states are different, but they have like they speak mainly English, but we have more than 10 languages here in Common Europe. In each country, we have Spanish, we have French, we have German, we have Swedish, we have Danish, we have many languages. So in each country, they also like to have their local education in their own language. That is I think it's good because we have like more different things to share, but also it's a challenge because we should also need to try to find a common thing between all the different countries, all the different cultures, all the different languages. That is sometimes difficult.
And of course, if you attend an actual Common Europe event, everything's in English.
Yeah.
So that makes it very easy.
Yeah. Sometimes in some countries during the CAC, they add some local speakers to speak in their language, sometimes to attract local attendees, but mainly the sessions are in English, because at the end is the common language for everybody.
Right. Which it actually is good, because that also lets you attract many speakers from the US.
Yeah, that's also the good point, because we can bring speakers from the United States, and is also good. But in fact, we have really good speakers in Europe, and we have great people. Some of them also belong to SIAC, and they are so nice. Like Niels Lisberg, Kundekort, and others, that Steve Bradsow. So they are really nice speakers based in Europe.
I absolutely agree with you. Let's talk about some of the challenges that both groups have faced. I know any group, any industry we had to deal with COVID, and that obviously changed maybe forever how conferences are run going forward. Before 2020, there was a very different template, I think, maybe for conferences. I think that's somewhat changed, especially during COVID with video conferences. But how has that changed? And have there been any changes that have now become permanent maybe for the better as a result of having gone through COVID, and now that we're on the other end of that, as far as maybe membership or what people expect to get from the organization, things like that. So what are your thoughts on some of those points?
Well, I'll be glad to go first. So Common Organization is predominantly known for the events that it puts on. So it's almost like our Christmas season. We had used to be fall and spring. Since COVID, we've rebranded those to Power Up and Navigate so that we can move the dates around, because that was forced. That was one of the things that had to happen when COVID hit, is that we had to move dates around a little bit as well. So Power Up and Navigate. Like if you're going to rely on the Christmas season, as Christmas goes, your organization goes. So our monetization, our revenue stream was predominantly event driven. Out of COVID, what happened is we had to transition and provide more virtual online events. And there we were able to capture a lot more in terms of sessions, recordings, and our content library started to become our greatest asset during COVID. And it's even a great asset in that we share our content library, and Juan will speak to that with like Common Iberia and Common France. So we have provided a model where they can share without paying a premium for the content library. There is a cost, but as you know, we're both not-for-profits, but we still need some operating revenue because we have full-time staff here at Common North America. So what we're trying to do is balance our revenue streams over memberships and sponsorships for virtual events all around our content library. We're starting in a lot of other countries just doing virtual events, just like if COVID was still there, with the goal that we would do a combination of online and in-person events probably moving forward. So, and I know we're going to talk about our globalization efforts, so we can talk about that at that time.
Yeah.
So,
and I think, as you mentioned, content library, one of the first things I tried as president was to make a deal so people from Common Europe will have access also to the Common library with discount, just being because we have a deal with Common North America. So some countries have registered as companies, so their members can access to the content library. Because I think, as Floyd said, it's a great thing to have, because it's at the end the membership is cheap, and so many people are not allowed to travel with their companies, especially if they need to go out of their country. So I think the Common Library is like a really good place for these people that cannot travel, cannot go to congresses. But on the other term, I think that after COVID, people still wanted or wanted even more the in-person events, because they miss it a lot. And I think after the first one we have in Denmark, that was the first after the COVID, and still many people was reluctant to travel. We have Spain, and people enjoyed a lot to be back on an open space, surrounded by their old friends, surrounded by colleagues, doing networking again. Because the problem is that for the pillars that Floyd said, the networking is more difficult to do it online, because you lose a lot of things. You can do the education, but probably not the networking. So that is, I think, the thing we miss with the COVID.
Right, because it's not just education. I mean, you say networking, and of course, a lot of the networking happens not during the day, but it happens, or not during session time. It happens even in the hallways or at lunchtime, things like that. In fact, some people will have told me some of the most valuable tips they've gotten while sitting at lunch with other people across from a table.
Yeah, or coffee breaks. Yeah,
coffee breaks.
Or even out at night, going out to see the city with people that normally you are not with. So I think is really good, because sometimes the things you learn and the things that to take home from the events are the things that you speak on the hallways, or even after the speech has ended, you approach the speaker, and you also have the opportunity to talk with people from the lab. You can talk with many of them, and they are open to talk to you. They are not coach that like you cannot talk to them. You can approach Tim Rowe or Steve Will or Douglas Gibbs, and they will talk to you in the hallways or after the sessions, and it will be nice.
Yeah, that's one of the unique things about our community is that is the access that it gives us. It gives us access to people who you wouldn't normally be able to, as you just said, go directly up to and ask them direct questions. I mean, that's unheard of in many other communities. It's really an amazing part, and not insignificant at all. It's a big deal to me.
Yeah, and part of the reason why I'm here is to pay that back, because as a young guy in the industry when I started, I had access to a Frank Soltis. I was able to talk to Frank Soltis, who is pretty much the godfather of our platform. And, that kind of welcome leadership that I saw then is really kind of what I think Juan and I are trying to do at both our organizations now.
So let's talk about some expansion, because I know that's a big topic right now, and it's an important one. I know both groups are looking to grow the membership, and I can tell you, as somebody who's been to both of the events, like just this year, but in many years prior, there seems to have been a shift lately, and in a positive way. There's a real buzz, and I can feel it, and people are telling me that they are sensing it as well. There's a real buzz, an excitement almost, and it seems to be more people coming to the conferences, and people are really thoroughly engaged, and I love it. And I think that's given an opportunity for Common US, Common Europe to look to expand. And I want to talk about that. I know there's a common goal here of I don't want to steal a thunder, but I'm just going to say it, and I'll let you talk about it. I know Common Latin America. So I'll start with that. You want to just talk about how that's starting to get on the ground or get out there?
I'll yield to my other Latin friend here, Juan.
Yeah. Okay. So there is a huge community of IBMI lovers in Latin America. Most of them speak Spanish, and most of them struggle with English. So we were talking about expanding the knowledge of Common to these countries by collaborating. Now that we have two Spanish-speaking presidents in Common, even for Floyd, Spanish is his second language, but at least he can say hi to to the South American friends, and so I think it's an important point, because there are probably hundreds of millions of people that speak Spanish in the world. So it's a huge market, and there are a lot of customers in Mexico, Argentina, Chile, even in the little countries from Central America. They have a lot of little banks that works with IBMI. Even they have some big banks that works with IBMI, even in small countries. So I think this is a huge market, and giving them the possibility of learn in their own language I think is great, because it's a huge opportunity for Common to expand their knowledge and their content library in a language that is speak even inside the United States for a lot of people. So it's also a way to bring new talent to the companies, because you can like fish people from other countries because it's not easy to find professionals. And I'm not talking on the IBMI world, but in general, in the IT world, the professionals are really needed. And to be able to have more professionals from different countries that can help, even remotely, is also a good opportunity for the companies.
And I know they've already had an event, or maybe a second one. A second one's in the works. Floyd, you want to speak to that one? That one that has already happened, and how that went?
Sure. So we had a virtual event already and it was entirely Spanish-speaking content. I did, as Juan mentioned, my introduction in some very bad Spanish and probably equal English behind it. But we had 250,000, not 250,000, sorry, 250 registrations. And we had as many as 160, 65 participants in one particular session. It was all day. And obviously it was a great success. These areas are somewhat deserts from an education standpoint, especially in the native language. So we've made, and this started with even Juan earlier, we started to make strides in providing content in those native languages. In Spanish, obviously in Iberia they have two, because they also support Portuguese in his group. So with that thinking, we've decided to start with a virtual event. Obviously it's a low-hanging fruit, low cost, and we're hosting a second virtual event. This one will be more of a half day from like 9 to 1 p.m., also completely in Spanish. And we're scheduled to do that in December. And Juan, do you know the date exactly? Because I've been on vacation, so I haven't seen this.
No. I don't know the date.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, what month will it be?
Yeah.
It'll be in December.
I want to say it's like the 6th or 7th, but I can't be sure.
That's fine. We'll get that published. That's fine. But
Yeah.
But you know, one thing I've learned in my own travels throughout Europe and other parts of the world is that even though, like you mentioned, Spanish is the native language for common Latin America, I think a lot of these communities all have similar problems. You know, they have still modernization challenges. They have problems perhaps with attracting new resources, things like that. So what's your view on that? I mean, especially with common Europe, and that you have many different countries assembled there. How does Common help address some of the more pressing issues today, like getting more volunteers with the organization, or getting the word out, or getting education out, which is so vital to keeping this platform vital?
Well, what we try to do is just give the resource our members need. So we try to educate young people. What we do is we pay from Common Europe for people under 30 years old in Europe to get free access to the content library, so young people can learn by themselves. And we also, I think the good thing we have in Europe is that we are pretty advanced on modernization. I think when I travel to the States, I think, and I'm proud of that probably the companies in Europe are more willing to use the new features of IBMI more than the Americans. That, for me, at least that is my impression from outside. They are like more cautious for the change. So I think it's really good to go to a conference and talk to other companies that are doing like really nice applications, hybrid cloud applications, artificial intelligence applications, and learn from real people that are implementing things. Because I think sometimes it's more valuable even than listen to the IBM experts, because sometimes they just give the products, but they don't implement them on the real customers. So you learn a lot from these real companies that are willing to share their knowledge, that are willing to share their experience.
I know you have, for example, you mentioned younger members. I know Common US has the new to I, N2I group Floyd, you want to tell us a little bit about N2I and how that might be attracting more people, or just getting the word out on what it provides to people who should be hearing more about it?
Right. So N2I is really our it's like a category inside Common North America. So what we do is provide a lot more introductory sessions. We also provide probably a little bit more of a comfort zone where they can meet subject matter experts and interact and network together. They have a common goal that they're new in their careers, or maybe they've had a new direction in their careers. We see a lot of second career people coming through N2I as well. So that's really a group where we're trying to make it more comfortable for new people to come in, get them to provide maybe a little pop-up session, start the speaker community, start to get their name out there, provide them full access to all the subject matter experts and all the resources that Common makes available to them, and just try to make it as easy for them to navigate their path moving forward with us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we touched upon Common Latin America, but I know there's more. There's more expansion even in the works as we're sitting here today. You want to tell us about some of the other initiatives that are going on right now in the Common universe?
Sure. So as you know, Common Europe's our sister organization. We've always worked closely with them, and we're trying to now take that model and move forward. So with Common Europe, we've agreed that Latin America is a great place to start collectively, since we have Spanish-speaking entities in both continents, both South America as well as parts of North America, if you consider Central America part of North America, as well as in Spain and some of the adjacents there. So what we've done is we started with virtual events in Latin America, as we mentioned, but we're hosting a live event in Japan, November 6th, which I think will be after this release, but we're going to be doing a live event. We're expecting 400 people there for that Common Japan event. And we're also going to be doing an in-person event in Common India in February of 2025, at the end of February. So what we're finding is that we have these deserts of education that Common is very well positioned, especially with the use of our content library. And we're trying to capture as much content from these various events, whether they be in English or the native tongue, and make that available in our library for future generations to move forward. As you know, IBM is always part of this, but they also move the target sometimes. And as their shift in education and marketing happens, Common, both our organizations have adjusted to kind of fill the voids that maybe were left, or to augment what IBM is already doing.
And that's not an insignificant statement, by the way, as far as these two new locations. You mentioned Japan and now India. Those are each one of those in their own right are huge markets.
Yes, if you think about 400 people, for instance, at India that we're expecting, that's equivalent to our Navigate event in terms of budgeted numbers, typically.
That's big, and while they're both in their infancy, I think they both have great, amazing potential going forward too.
Yes, and obviously there's many corporations that have large presence, predominantly LUG members. Those multinational companies, they will have resources that are located in these adjacent markets like India. So we're obviously meeting the need of the large, but also the small to mid companies in those areas, Asia Pac. And hopefully, I'm in discussions now. Hopefully, we're going to try to do something in Australia in 2025 as well.
Wow. So, Juan, from the Common Europe perspective, what have there been as far as new initiatives or ways to expand even the Common Europe model, I suppose? What's been going on?
We are trying to add new countries. We are mainly focusing now on Greece because we had some advanced conversations over there, and probably I will be in December in Cyprus with Morton Rasmussen and Scott Forsty in a education event where we will try to promote the creation of Common Greek again. So yeah, we try to cover most of the countries. We are also thinking which model will be, because the main problem is that we are a group of independent organizations, but some of these organizations in the countries just are led by people that are getting older. They don't find replacement. So we need also to think if Common Europe will need to have an office in some of these countries if they get out of board members to make a Common Europe, or at least the local communities to keep having the education they need. Because but for us it's really complicated, because it's lots of different languages, different rules in each country, etc. So it's a challenge, but we are always willing to help any country in our area.
Yeah, you've both made reference to at some point the boards, and I know the boards play a significant role in both organizations. What can you tell me about and I think the boards have different issues or different roles in the different organizations here. So how vital is the board? It's a volunteer board in both cases, but how vital is the board to the organization? And what's really the board's purpose? I know a lot of people don't really quite understand or maybe even appreciate the role of what the board does in either organization.
Yeah, I'll take that first. So here in North America, it is a volunteer organization. We have term limits that I think is different already than Common Europe. So as president, I can only be president for 2 years, and then I have to roll off. As a board member, you can only have 2 3-year terms, and then you have to roll off for at least 2 years. So in this being my 5th year, probably the most I've noticed in the last 20 years. And I'm really excited about this board. This board is open-minded, progressive in their thinking. We're trying to look at new avenues without wasting money. Obviously, we're trying to do that effectively. And we're trying to meet the people as trying to get the people to meet us so much. And so I think the board is really predominantly involved in strategy. Unlike Common Europe, we have a full-time staff here. They are our tactical unit, so they actually go out and try to execute upon the strategy that the board implements at the beginning of the year, and then it can get reworked through the course of the year. For instance, we're going to Tech Exchange. We're going to have a board meeting. We're also going to have a small kind of revamped strategic meeting and try to dial in where we're being effective and try to maximize our efforts.
Yeah, for our part, we have the board that is the meeting of the representatives of each country, but we are different to Common North American. We don't have people that are staff, so the executive people are volunteers inside the board. That made it a bit complicated, because we need to, for example, organize the Common Europe Congress in our free time, so so it's like having 2 works, and probably all of us in the current board, we have our own day job, so it's a lot of hours that we steal from our families to give people what they need in terms of having great congresses, trying to reach to great deals like we have with Common North America, trying to get new online education. So it's all part of the time that people steal from the family to give to the community. So I think it's not because I'm there. It's because a lot of people have been doing that for many years, and sometimes I don't think the public there understand what are the the pains that you have, like doing a volunteer work outside hours. It's really hard sometimes.
But I want to add, so I want to add to that because I agree with you that it does take a lot of hours and does take a lot of time away from home. I understand that, of course, but I think people who aren't doing any volunteering should still consider because it's very rewarding. I think it's I find it's very rewarding.
Of course, the people to know in the journey I think is the best thing you have. After that, the things you learn, because you need to talk with many people. I think it's great to do that, and it's good to have new people helping and new faces, because what I'm trying to do is just doing this kind of renovation in all the things on Common Europe, the SIAC, the board. So new people can volunteer, new people can contribute with new ideas, new people can come. And also, it is a hard job, but it's rewarding. So I invite everyone that wants to be part of the community to get involved in their local associations, to get involved in their countries, to get involved in the boards of Common Europe or Common North America, or in the advisory councils, because you learn a lot, you know a lot of important and interesting people. So I think it's great to be part of the community as volunteer.
Yeah, I agree with Juan. It's been personally rewarding, as he mentioned, but from a professional standpoint, it's also been rewarding. And so it gives you an opportunity to get a lot of different perspectives and understand the problems that are out there for various businesses, whether they be small to mid or the larger ones. And it's a great challenge. It's very, as Juan mentioned, very rewarding in all areas. And I'm constantly meeting first-time attendees and trying to get them excited about getting more involved. Write an article, do a little blog, whatever it might be. Start a session, small session. Co-present if that makes you more comfortable. And people like you, Charlie, I know you've opened your doors a lot of times by letting people work with you and ease that pain of introduction a lot more. So we appreciate that.
Well, thank you. But but I think what both of you are saying is that volunteering takes on many different forms. It's not, you don't have to be a board member. You don't have to be a speaker. There's so many other avenues you can, even a fraction of your time, all hands are welcome.
That's correct.
I think that's true for both of the communities. I just want to add.
It's our succession planning too, if you think about it, because we're not going to be here forever. As I already mentioned, my timeline's kind of already written in sand, but we need to find the people that are going to come behind us to keep this organization running.
I will I'll speak for myself. I'm sure you'll agree, though. For me, what the volunteering has done for me personally is that it's really made me just part of a larger family, because that's truly what it feels like. It's literally a family to me, and these are people who I have become friends with well outside of the boundaries of Common. I've attended parties and been to people's houses all over the world. It's an amazing thing. So it's done some great things for me personally as well. So I just want to get that out there as well.
I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, with that being the case, let's kind of start wrapping this up. I know there's always another conference to plan. There's always something else coming up. So I wanted you to both just speak a little bit about what you have coming in the next 6 to 12 months. What's coming out? Where can people really go to an in-person event, and where are they, and how do they get things like that? How do they get there, and things like that?
Well, in Europe, we will have many events on this fall, because each country has their own. Just ask your local representatives, because probably they are expecting you there. And for next year, we will have the Common Europe Congress in Sweden, in Gothenburg, and I hope you will go there, because this year we are adding a new track that is storage. because people mistake you, and we started adding power content to the conference during this year, and now we are also adding storage content. That makes our conference bigger, and for some, especially partners, but also some customers that for their IBMI needs to know what is new in storage, we will add also this kind of content. So I think it will be, of course, a nice conference to go next year.
And that Gothenburg event in Sweden will be in June.
Yeah.
Okay. And Floyd, what's coming down the pike for Common North America?
So for the remainder of this year, we have Navigate, a second Navigate in Toronto, Canada. As you know, COVID, again, one of the impacts of COVID was international travel, and our closest neighbor is Canada, and that provided a bit of a chasm. So we're doing an in-person event there this November. In conjunction, we're also doing the Common Japan Live event in November. So two in-person events. Next year, we kick off with Focus, which will be our virtual event. We also have our in-person Common India event in February of 2025. That will be followed closely by Power Up, which will be at Disneyland in May of next year. Obviously, typically the largest of our attending events, and we're really excited about being back at the land of Mickey there in Anaheim, California. And on the regional levels, much like Common Europe, we're not an umbrella organization, but here in the US, we have local users groups. So there's plenty of local users groups, just like you attended Common Sweden. We're working with Omni here in Chicago to do an in-person event. Common North America is providing some of the resources and making them available to that local users group so that we could try to give it a little bit of an injection, a shot in the arm of excitement, and make it easier, because as Juan mentioned, being a volunteer does sometimes take some effort, and anything we can do to add value to the local users groups here at Common, we're trying to do that too as well. So
full place for both of you. Full place for both of you, for sure. Wow. Listen, gentlemen, this has been a real treat for me. I mean, this has been great. I don't know what else can I say. I'm just so happy to see both of your faces again, and to see you in person. And I've been with you. I've been seeing you all during the year, and it's just great to keep this thing going. And it's something that I'm proud to be part of as well. So thank you for all your efforts keeping this thing going. It's really a wonderful thing. One last point I want to make is that in my mind, there's absolutely no reason why somebody from Europe should not visit Common US and vice versa. If the US should visit the Common in European events. Each one brings a different focus on IBMI, I think, a different view perspective, and it's something you should think about if you have the resources and time.
Yeah, I agree. I've been going to Common Europe since probably the late 90s. I think I started going. So, and we always talk about the U.S. speakers, but at Power Up, we bring plenty of European speakers to come and speak at that event as well.
Absolutely.
So we're sharing our resources, getting those different perspectives. I agree a little bit that they're a little bit sometimes more progressive in Europe than they have been in the U.S., but I'm hopefully seeing that balance out. But we're also trying to bring the world with us. That's why the global effort now that's going on as well.
It's really great. I'm going to give each of you just maybe 60 seconds just to do one little final pitch, if you'd like, for the organizations that you're representing. And we'll end it on that note. So, Juan, why don't you go first? There's one last little pitch on Common Europe, if you'd like. Just maybe why someone should really want to come and attend and be engaged.
Well, it's like I said, this year we will expect to have a great congress with a lot of contents on IBMI, on AI, on power, on storage, and I think that will be an important place to meet new people, to see what other companies are doing, and I hope to see you in Gothenburg.
It should be great. Floyd?
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. Just replace Gothenburg with Disneyland in May here in North America. But if you're also in any of those other geographies, please feel free to look at our content library. Some of that content is made available at no cost. In other words, you could surf about a 5-10% of the content library that is out there for the general public to consume. We'd love to add content in the native languages, so I invite all our 2 language speaking friends to come in and provide sessions. Even if you don't speak 2 languages, speak Spanish, speak German, whatever it might be, we would be glad to host it for you. As you know, Charlie, as a speaker, we never take ownership of that. It's always the owner of the speaker. We're really just a conduit, as I say, a river to our people to provide that education, which is one of our main focuses. So, and thank you, Charlie, for providing this platform for us to have an opportunity to let the public know a little bit about what we're doing.
Oh, this is my pleasure. This is a real treat for me. So thank you again. Thank you for your time, both of you. All right, well, we'll leave it there. And thank you so much again to both of you, Juan, Floyd, and thank you everybody for listening in on this podcast. Both organizations, Common North America, Common Europe. I've had the privilege to be a speaker at both of these events, and I can tell you that they're both wonderful and worth your time if you can get to either one of them or both. And it's something experience you won't forget. And with that, I'm going to wrap this little podcast up. Thank you to Tech Channel for hosting this event, for hosting this podcast for us. Check out other podcasts at Tech Channel, and you'll see there's a lot of good content online as well. Take care, everybody. Bye now.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Adios, Juan.
Adios.